Let's cut the noise for a second. Just you and me. I'm not talking to the version of you that pretends everything is fine. I'm talking to the part of you that is exhausted. The part that feels like you're screaming in a glass box where everyone sees your mouth moving but nobody cares what you're actually saying. You've been running a marathon for people who won't even walk to the curb for you. You sit there analyzing their silence, dissecting their vague answers, wondering if you were too much or too needy. You replay every interaction, convinced that if you just cracked the code, if you just found the perfect combination of words, they would finally wake up and see you. But let's call this what it really is. You aren't building a relationship. You are managing a crisis that only exists in your head. You edit your texts 3 times before hitting send because you're terrified of scaring them off. You dilute your personality. You shrink your needs to the size of an atom. You apologize for things that weren't even your fault just to keep the peace. That is not connection. That is emotional gymnastics. You are twisting yourself into knots trying to be the perfect shape for a puzzle piece that doesn't even want to fit. You need to hear this even if it burns. If you have to consistently strategize how to keep someone interested, they aren't interested. If you have to constantly remind someone you exist, to them you don't. You've convinced yourself that your effort is the glue holding this together. But it's not glue. It's a lifeline you are holding with both hands while they stand there with their hands in their pockets. You aren't being loved, you are being tolerated. You are being responded to, but you are not being sought after. There is a massive difference between someone who makes space for you and someone who just allows you to sit in the empty corner of their room. So, what happens when the music stops? What happens when you decide you are done auditioning for a role in their life? You stop the performance. You put the phone down. You stop engaging with the low-effort breadcrumbs they throw to keep you hungry. And I promise you, the silence that follows will be deafening. It will scare you at first because you'll think you're losing them. But you aren't losing anything. You are finally seeing the naked truth without the filter of your own hope. When you stop rowing the boat, you realize the current was pushing against you the entire time. If the communication dies the moment you stop CPR, it was never alive to begin with. You were the pulse. You were the heartbeat. You were the only reason this thing had any air in its lungs. And when you step back, you aren't punishing them. You are just letting gravity do its job. You are letting the structure stand on its own merits. And if it crumbles, let it fall. Because you deserve a foundation that doesn't require you to hold up the ceiling with your bare hands every single day. The show is over. There is a reason you are terrified of silence. It's not because you have nothing to say, it's because you are afraid of what you will hear when the noise stops. You keep talking, keep reaching out, keep sending those double texts because deep down, you know that the moment you go quiet, the other side of the line goes dead. You are filling the void because you know they won't. But listen to me closely. Silence is not a weapon you use to hurt people. It is a tool you use to see them clearly. It acts like a high-powered filter. The moment you zip your lip and withdraw your energy, you aren't creating distance. You are revealing the distance that was already there. Here is the brutal reality check. When you pull back, you aren't losing friends or partners. You are shedding parasites. You are losing the people who were only loyal to your availability. They loved your access, not your essence. They loved that you were a constant source of validation, a convenient option when their main plans fell through. You were the emotional safety net they could fall into without ever having to help weave the ropes. When you remove that net, they don't miss you. They miss the convenience of you. They miss the ease. They miss having someone who cleans up their mess without asking for a thank you. This is going to hurt. I won't lie to you. Watching people fade away simply because you stopped initiating is a specific kind of heartbreak. It makes you feel disposable. But you have to flip the script. This isn't rejection, it's information. Highly valuable information. You are getting a masterclass in who actually values your presence versus who simply tolerated your existence. The ones who care? They notice the shift. They check in. They ask, "Are you okay?" The ones who were just using you for energy? They vanish into the mist without a backward glance. Let them go. Do not chase what chooses to leave. This brings us to detachment. People confuse detachment with being cold or bitter. It's neither. Detachment is simply the moment you stop negotiating your worth. It is the moment you look at the situation and realize the price of admission is too high. You stop asking questions you already know the answers to. You stop trying to decode their mixed signals. Mixed signals are a clear signal. They scream, "I am not sure about you." And if they aren't sure, you need to be done. When you detach, you become dangerous in the best way possible. You become impossible to manipulate. Why? Because you are no longer reacting. You are observing. You are watching their patterns instead of getting tangled in their potential. You see the games, the gaslighting, the inconsistencies, and instead of getting angry, you just take notes. You step back and say, "I see exactly what this is, and I am no longer trying to paint it a different color." That is where your power returns. You aren't waiting for them to choose you anymore. You have finally chosen yourself. The silence didn't kill the connection, it just exposed the corpse. Bury it and walk away. Listen to me closely, because this is where you are going to mess up if you aren't careful. You want them to feel the loss today. You want instant gratification. You want them to wake up tomorrow morning panic-stricken because you aren't there. Stop dreaming. That isn't how human psychology works. When you first pull back, they don't feel pain. They feel relief. They feel like they got their space back. They are distracted by the cheap thrill of freedom. They assume you are sitting at home crying, waiting for them to snap their fingers so you can come running back. Let them think that. Let them bask in that arrogance. Because absence is a slow-burning fuse. It doesn't explode, it creeps. The reality of what they lost won't hit them in the chaos of the weekend. It hits them on a random Tuesday night when the house is too quiet. It hits them when they have a bad day and reach for their phone to vent, only to realize the one person who actually cared to listen isn't on the other end anymore. It hits them when they meet new people and realize how shallow everyone else is compared to the depth you offered for free. That is when the echo starts. They don't miss your words, they miss the safety you provided. They miss the certainty. But here is the trap you cannot fall into. You cannot sit by the window waiting for their regret to arrive. If you are silent just to get a reaction, you are still being loud. You are still playing their game. True detachment is when you take that massive amount of energy you were wasting on analyzing their behavior and you inject it directly into your own veins. You pivot. You stop building a shrine to the past and start building a skyscraper for your future. This is about aggressive self-preservation. You take that frustration and you put it into the iron at the gym. You take that anxiety and you pour it into your business, your craft, your bank account. You level up so violently that you become unrecognizable. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that confuses a person more than seeing you thrive without them. They expect you to crumble. They expect you to be a mess. When they look over the fence and see you building an empire, it shatters their ego. Your growth becomes the loudest message you could ever send. You don't need to block them, you just need to outgrow them. You become so busy falling in love with your own potential that you forget to check if they are watching. And trust me, they are watching. But by the time they realize they want a seat at your table, the price of admission will have doubled, and the seat will be taken. You don't get revenge by being mean. You get revenge by becoming undeniable. Growth without access is the ultimate closure. One day something inside you simply clicks off. It isn't an explosion. It isn't a breakdown. It is the quietest sound in the world. You wake up and for the first time in months, your first thought isn't about them. You don't grab your phone to check their last seen status. You don't scan their social media looking for hidden messages in their song choices. You just make your coffee. You just start your day. The obsession lifts like a fog and you realize you aren't fighting for them anymore. You are finally fighting for your own peace. This is the phase where you stop addiction to the chaos. You've been high on the cortisol of stress for so long that calm felt boring. But now, calm feels like oxygen. You stop rehearsing the final conversation in your shower. You know, the one where you finally explain your pain so eloquently that they break down and apologize. Kill that fantasy. It is a trap. You don't need their apology to heal. You don't need them to understand what they did to you. Their understanding is not a requirement for your recovery. Here is the truth that sets you free. The disrespect was the closure. The unanswered texts were the closure. The way they let you go to sleep wondering where you stood? That was the closure. You don't need a meeting to confirm it. You don't need to hear it from their lips. Their actions screamed it while their words whispered sweet nothings. When you accept this, you stop leaving the door cracked open. You lock it, you bolt it, and you throw away the key not out of anger but because there is nothing left inside that room for you to salvage. You start to see the past clearly. You weren't too much. You were just trying to offer deep water to someone who was only comfortable wading in a puddle. You were trying to speak a language of intimacy to someone who is illiterate in emotion. That isn't your failure. That is an incompatibility that no amount of self-sacrifice could have fixed. You stop blaming yourself for their inability to step up. You realize you were starving at a banquet because you were waiting for them to feed you, when you could have walked away and feasted alone at any moment. Peace becomes your new baseline. It becomes the most expensive thing you own, and you refuse to let anyone cheapen it again. You become protective of your energy. You realize that a chaotic love is not better than a peaceful solitude. You didn't disappear to make a point. You didn't walk away to be chased. You walked away because the version of you that accepted crumbs is dead. You are free. And that freedom? It tastes better than their attention ever did. You haven't just moved on, you have moved up. And from this height, you can't even hear them calling your name. So here is the final truth. You didn't disappear to be missed. You disappeared to be free. And freedom doesn't check the rearview mirror. If you are done begging for a seat at their table and you're ready to start building your own, if you are finished with the games and fully committed to the growth, then you are exactly where you need to be. Hit that subscribe button. Don't do it for me. Do it as a promise to yourself that you are never going back to the version of you that accepted less than you deserve. The chapter is closed. The book is yours to write now. Welcome to the other side.